My mother tried to take my daughter and force me to give her up for adoption. But when I revealed my sister got married 2 years ago without inviting them, their faces shattered, and they lost both daughters forever. I'm 20 years old, work retail making minimum wage, and I have a 1.5-year-old daughter who's basically my entire world. And what happened a few months ago with my parents still keeps me up at night. Like, I can't believe they went that far. I guess I should start from the beginning. So this makes sense, because the thing is, I always knew my parents were kind of weird, controlling and stuff. But I never thought they would literally try to take my daughter away from me. Okay, so I need to back up a bit. I got pregnant when I was 18, fresh out of high school. And yeah, it was a total accident. The father basically disappeared when I told him. I mean, he didn't even argue or anything. He just blocked me everywhere and that was it. My parents, Linda and Robert, were furious at first. They said everything to me. That I had ruined my life. That I was irresponsible. How was I going to support a baby? All of that. But then they kind of calmed down. Or so I thought. And they told me I could stay with them after the baby was born while I saved money and figured out what to do with my life. Sophie was born in January 2 years ago, and honestly, it was the best day of my life, despite everything. She was perfect. Completely perfect. With her dark little eyes and light brown hair. The first few months were tough. I'm not going to lie, because I was working retail shifts and basically wasn't sleeping at all. But my parents helped with Sophie while I worked, so I thought things were working out well. My sister Jessica, who's 26 and lives in San Diego with her husband Michael, would call often to check how we were doing, and she'd always tell me if I needed anything to let her know. But I thought I had everything under control. Things started getting weird when Sophie turned 1. Suddenly, my mom began making comments about my weight, like, "Emma, honey, don't you think you should take better care of yourself?" Or, "It's not healthy for Sophie to see you eat like that." And I was like, "Excuse me?" Because I literally weighed the same as before pregnancy, maybe 5 kilos more, nothing dramatic. But she insisted. She'd buy me bigger clothes without me asking, leave gym brochures in my room, that kind of passive-aggressive stuff that drives you crazy because it's not like they're yelling at you, but they still make you feel horrible. My dad wouldn't say anything directly, but he backed up everything my mom did. If she said I was feeding Sophie wrong, he'd nod and add something like, "Your mother's right, you should listen to her." If she criticized how I dressed Sophie or what time I put her to bed, he was there, supporting her. It was like having two people constantly judging every decision I made, and it was starting to exhaust me. Honestly. Then my mom joined this neighborhood club, like a group of ladies who would get together to drink coffee and gossip and who knows what else. And that's when things got really unbearable. Suddenly, she had opinions about absolutely everything. Like if Sophie should wear more dresses because girls need to look feminine, that I was spoiling her by holding her too much, that I had to let her cry so she'd learn to sleep alone. And they weren't suggestions, They were orders. She'd tell me, "No, Emma, don't give her that to eat, it has too much sugar," and she'd take the plate out of my hand. Or, "No, don't dress her like that, those clothes aren't appropriate," and she'd take out something she had bought without asking me. She started controlling everything we ate in the house, both Sophie and me. She stopped buying things that according to her weren't healthy, which was basically everything that wasn't boiled vegetables and flavorless chicken breast. She'd hide the car keys so I couldn't go to the grocery store by myself. She'd go through my room when I wasn't there and leave me notes about things she found. Like, "I found these chocolates in your drawer. Emma, this has to stop." It was like living in a prison where the guard is your own mother. The worst was when Sophie had to get her 15-month shots. I made the appointment with the pediatrician and everything. And the morning we had to go, my mom hid my car keys, literally hid them. She told me, "I'm not going to let you inject those toxins into my granddaughter. Emma, vaccines cause autism and developmental problems." I read it in the Facebook group, and I was frozen because, seriously? Now she was anti-vax? I told her that was ridiculous, that I needed the keys because Sophie needed to get vaccinated, and she refused completely. My dad was standing there saying nothing, as always, until he finally said, "Maybe your mother's right. You should research more before making that decision." I had to call my sister crying to help me convince my mom to give me back the keys, and in the end, Jessica yelled at her so much over the phone that my mom left them on the table and went to her room slamming the door. I took Sophie to get vaccinated that day, but when I got back, My parents wouldn't talk to me. They gave me the silent treatment, which sounds childish, but believe me, after days of them ignoring you in your own house, it feels horrible. Things kept getting worse. My mom started telling me I wasn't capable of being a mother, that Sophie deserved something better, that I was too young and immature. She constantly compared me to other young mothers who, according to her, were doing things right. She'd say things like, "My friend's daughter from the club is your age and she's already engaged and has her own house. What are you doing with your life, Emma?" And I'd try to explain that I was saving money, that I was looking for a better job, that I had plans, but nothing I said was enough. One day, like 3 months into all this craziness, we were having dinner and my mom brought up adoption. Just like that, out of nowhere. She said, "Emma, your father and I have been talking, and we think you should consider giving Sophie to a family that can take better care of her." I almost choked on my food. I said, "What?" And she continued like nothing, very calmly, saying she had researched open adoptions and there were wonderful families who would be delighted to adopt a girl as beautiful as Sophie, and that I could visit her and still be part of her life, but without the responsibility of raising her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I yelled at her, literally yelled, that Sophie was my daughter and I was never going to give her up for adoption. How could she even suggest it? And that's when my dad stepped in and said, "If you're going to live under our roof, you're going to follow our rules. And if you can't be the mother Sophie needs, then we'll have to make difficult decisions." He said it like that, as if it were something completely reasonable. And I felt like the floor was opening up beneath me. I told them they were crazy, that they had no right, and my mom responded very coldly, "We have every right. Emma, this is our house and Sophie lives here, and if you don't cooperate, we can seek legal help to make sure she's in an appropriate environment." She was threatening me, basically saying they could call social services or something to take my daughter away. I ran upstairs to my room with Sophie and locked the door, shaking completely. That night, I called Jessica, crying so hard I could barely speak. I told her everything, about the adoption, the threats, everything. And she got furious, like, I'd never heard her so angry. She told me, "Emma, you have to get out of there now. You can't stay with them one more day." I told her I had nowhere to go, that I didn't have enough money saved for an apartment, and she said, "I don't care. You're coming with me. I'm going to come get you." But before I could respond, my mom started knocking on the door, demanding I come out. I opened it, still with the phone in my hand, and she saw I was talking to Jessica. She asked me what I had told her, and I was so fed up, so completely exhausted with everything, that I told her. I told her, "You want to take my daughter away from me." And I also told her something I should have told her years ago. And that's when I dropped the bomb. I told them that Jessica had gotten married 2 years ago, in a small ceremony in San Diego, and that she hadn't invited them because she knew exactly how they were going to behave. My mom turned white, like, completely pale, and my dad started asking me if I was lying. I told them no, that Jessica had married Michael, who owns an upscale restaurant, and that she had decided not to tell them because she didn't want them to ruin her special day with their drama. My mom started screaming, calling me a traitor and a liar, saying how could we have done something like that we were the worst daughters in the world. My dad was standing there, red with fury, and I just closed the door in their faces and went back to the phone. Jessica was still on the line and had heard everything. She told me, "I'm coming tomorrow. Pack Sophie's things and yours. Don't stay there one more night than necessary." The next morning, my parents acted like nothing had happened, which was almost worse than if they had kept yelling. They tried to talk to me normally, asking me what I wanted for breakfast, but I didn't say anything to them. I packed a suitcase with clothes for Sophie and me, some toys, diapers, the basics. I didn't have much anyway. Most of Sophie's things they had bought and were technically theirs, I guess. Jessica arrived that same day, like at noon, and when she walked into the house, she went straight to where my parents were. I heard them arguing from my room, Jessica yelling at them that they were toxic and controlling and she wasn't going to let them do to me what they had been doing. My mom tried to defend herself, saying they only wanted what was best for Sophie, and Jessica told her, "That's a lie. You only want control. You never cared about Emma or Sophie. You just want power over someone." My dad tried to speak, but Jessica cut him off, told him he had been a horrible father, that he had always let mom do whatever she wanted without ever defending either of us. She told them she wasn't going to talk to them again, that they wouldn't meet their future grandchild, and that's when she dropped that she was 3 months pregnant. My parents were quiet for a second, and then my mom started crying, saying how could we do this to them? But Jessica grabbed my suitcase and told me, "Let's go now." We left the house with Sophie in my arms, and my parents followed us to the car, begging us to stay, to talk, but Jessica completely ignored them. She put the suitcase in the trunk, helped me put Sophie in her car seat, which thank God was in my car and not in the house, and we left. Just like that, without looking back. We stayed at a motel that night because Jessica said we needed a day to calm down before making the trip to San Diego. She bought me food. We sat in the motel room, and she hugged me while I cried. She told me everything was going to be okay, that she and Michael had plenty of space in their house, that I could stay with them as long as I needed. It was the first time in months I felt like I could breathe, like, as if someone was finally on my side. The next day, I tried to go back to my parents' house to pick up the rest of our things, the ones I had left because they didn't fit in the car. But when I got there, the door had a new lock. I called my mom and she told me, very coldly, that if we were going to leave like that, then we didn't deserve anything they had bought. Basically, they sold or donated everything. Sophie's crib, her clothes, her toys, my books, my computer, everything. The only thing we had was what we had put in that suitcase. Jessica went crazy when I told her. She wanted to go back and confront them, but I told her it wasn't worth it, that I just wanted to leave and never see them again. So we drove to San Diego, like a 6-hour drive, and when we got there, Michael received us with the house already prepared for us. They had a guest room with a bed and had bought a new crib for Sophie, toys, clothes, everything. I started crying again because I couldn't believe someone could be so kind. The first few days were weird, like, I was constantly waiting for something to go wrong, but nothing happened. Jessica and Michael were incredible. They treated me like real family, not like a burden. Michael even offered me a job as a waitress at his restaurant, which is an upscale place where the tips are amazing. He told me I didn't have to accept if I didn't want to, that I could take time to adjust. But I accepted immediately, because I needed to start making money to be able to get my own place eventually. My parents tried to contact me like 1,000 times. Calls, messages, emails, saying they wanted to see Sophie, that they had overreacted, that we could work it out, but I didn't respond. Jessica didn't either. We blocked their numbers, their social media accounts, everything. I didn't want them to have any way to reach us. My mom even tried to send letters to Jessica's address, but we threw them away without opening them. I worked at Michael's restaurant for a few months, saving every penny I could. Jessica was getting more and more pregnant, like 5 or 6 months already, and I wanted to have my own place before the baby was born so I wouldn't be in the way. Even though they told me I wasn't in the way at all, that they loved having us there, I felt like I needed my own space, you know? I needed to prove to myself I could do it alone. I found a small apartment like 15 minutes from Jessica's house. Nothing fancy, but enough for Sophie and me. It had 1 bedroom, a living room kitchen, and it was in a building with security, which was the important thing. Jessica and Michael helped me with the deposit and gave me furniture they had in storage. The day we moved in, Jessica cried and hugged me, telling me she was proud of me, and I honestly don't know what I would have done without her. Now we've been living here for like 6 months, and Sophie is thriving. Like, she's a completely different kid from how she was when we lived with my parents. She's happier, more relaxed, and so am I. I still work at the restaurant. The tips are so good, I'm considering taking some classes at community college to study business administration or something like that. Jessica had her baby, a beautiful boy, and Sophie is obsessed with her cousin. She adores him. My parents still try to contact me from time to time, but each time it's less frequent. The last time was like 2 weeks ago. My mom sent a message from a new number saying she had changed, that she wanted a second chance, but I just deleted it. I don't owe them anything. And I'm definitely not going to expose Sophie to that kind of toxicity again. Jessica says, I did the right thing, and I trust her. Sometimes I wonder if I'm a bad person for cutting them completely out of my life, if maybe I should give them at least a chance to meet Sophie. But then I remember how they made me feel. The threats, everything. And I know I can't. I can't risk them trying the same thing again, trying to control me or manipulate me using my daughter. She deserves to grow up in an environment where she's loved unconditionally, not where she's used as a control tool. Last week, Sophie said Mama clearly for the first time, and it was perfect. Like, the best moment of my life. We were at the park near the apartment. She was on the swings, and she just said it, Mama, and pointed at me smiling. And I thought, this is what matters. These moments, not all the drama and pain from the past. We're okay now. Better than okay. And that's enough.